Okay, can you hear me through the mic? Okay, just a second. We're adjusting. We're adjusting. We're adjusting. Hello. I have it on. For sure. Hello, hello, test, test, test. It's not doing anything. This one? Ah. It would help if I turned on the right mic. All right. Well, you know what? Welcome everybody to Peter White Public Library. My name is Marty Ackitts, and I'm the Adult Programming Coordinator for the library. And it's my pleasure. I'm excited for Lisa and for everybody else who's here to hear what a beautiful poet Lisa is. I'm just going to let you know of a few things that are coming up, especially since we have a crowd of poet people here. I'm going to mention this. On Wednesday night, we have a program. It's called PT for Pets. So if you have a pet who might be older or has some physical challenges, we have a licensed pet physical therapist who's going to be coming in Wednesday night at 7 p.m. to demonstrate how to help your pet be with their mobility and everything. And there's going to be a special guest star, a cute little Australian puppy, the cutest little Australian shepherd puppy that you have ever seen, who's going to be doing that. Who I might be biased, but you know. Anyway. And then on Thursday night, we have our monthly meeting of the Marquette Poets Circle. That starts at 6:30 in the evening upstairs in the Shiras room. We workshop poems from 6:30 to 7:15, and then at 7:15 we have an open mic from 7:15 to 8 p.m. And that is open to anybody who wants to come to that. If you've never written a poem in your life, it doesn't matter. You know, you can show up and participate. You can tell a story, you can sing a song, or you can read a poem or tell a joke as long as it's clean. Okay. And then on Friday, we do not have anything. The library is closed on Friday for an employee in service day, which I'm so excited about. And then, next week, Monday the 13th, just to give you a preview, we have a really special event. It's called Storytellers and Songsters, and it's a group of musicians, including Troy Graham, Nate Reed, and the band Atticus, and it's going to be an evening of music and stories, so that's going to be really special. Lots of great stuff coming up. That's all in the flyer here for November, but let me tell you a little story about Lisa, okay? I don't think that she was prepared for this, but a couple years ago during Art Week, I organized these what I called pop-up poetry readings, and all over town we were giving clues as to where we'd be. And Lisa was at the gazebo out on Presque Isle, right?
Because it was raining so hard.
It was raining. Yeah, we were supposed to be I think on the break wall or something like that, but it was raining, so we were at the gazebo. And we're sitting there, and Lisa's reading and everything. And all of a sudden, I kid you not, an entire flock of geese starts walking down the hill toward us. And it stood there. When it got to the gazebo, they all stood there, like looking up, like they were listening to Lisa. Truly, it was really amazing. And that's what Lisa does. I mean, if you've read her book or if you've read any of her poems, you know that Lisa is so in touch with nature and the world around us, and especially this area, that this book is sort of like a gift to anybody who loves this area and loves the world. Lisa's just been a great, great friend. And this book itself is... I'll just read you what I wrote for her blurb, because you know what? I'm not really good sometimes on the spot. But this book is an act of hope, of reaching out to be that close to what lights us all. Lisa's a fox singing a blessing, calling a sunrise. She's Mary Oliver chain smoking by the outhouse. Every poem in this collection is something wild, ready to take flight into an apricot autumn sky. You read one poem and then you turn the page and you find another wonder waiting to be held, a loved released to the forests, lakes, and skies of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. We must believe in clouds, Lisa says. that they can hold an ocean. And believe me when I tell you this, Lisa's words contain oceans. And do yourself a favor, get a book and dive in. Please welcome Lisa Fosmo.
Thank you, everyone, so much for showing up. I appreciate this wonderful turnout on this terrible rainy night. And I would like to thank the Peter White Library and Martin Ocketts for being wonderful. So, just fabulous. Wow, what an introduction. Thank you, Marty. And my wonderful husband for supporting me with all my writing. I don't know where he is. He's hiding there, so he's turning around. Yes, he actually gifted me a little log cabin in the woods that's tiny, that's just for me to write in. So, pretty awesome. So anyway, I don't know if you guys noticed the cover, and this cover is actually, we live in Escanaba. I live in Escanaba, and as some of you know, and this is the beach back there where I live, and this photograph has a 1920s Art Deco rare bookend, which I own the pair, and I took her out to have her to do an art photo so it looked like she was holding the sun, and that's the cover. So, and I will read some of this for you. And I think I will start at the beginning, and then I will kind of skip around a bit. And I will read for you Spring on Lake Michigan, because this is pretty much, when you are living on the lake, you notice a lot of things. And this spring is one of my most favorite hopeful seasons. And so this is called Spring on Lake Michigan. Spring on Lake Michigan. I would like to say to you, dear bringer of new, the one holding a pine cone in the cold early newness of spring, there, bundled in awkwardness, from the corner of the earth's room, though I never told you, you are my favorite season, my favorite smell as I breathe in the birth of new. Listen to birds arriving, shooting like stars across the night sky on a feathered whim. The ice seems to be riding a floor jack, rising till it will break. There must be a crack somewhere where the river's thaw has entered, spilling beneath the crust like a secret, waiting to break out onto hurried waters, but I can see no breaks. Only in the night, I hear the war of winter losing its battle to spring, the sound like gunfire, the loud thunder of ice popping. And I'm taking sides. I'm rooting for spring, praying this new ruler won't turn, praying she won't spill waters in a hurry, praying she heeds her time, knowing no one has loved her better or more, until winter comes again with all the elegance of a new bride, and we will love her all the more all over again. Today, I wait for that moment where once again I will hear the roar of rushing waters into the thaw of waves crashing, the very sound that rattles heaven's door. Thank you. And then I'm going to read you another poem that comes right after that, and it's called Even the Turn of Winter. Even the turn of winter, how a thin sheet holds our heat, enough to survive the calamity of an old furnace, how the steam of wolf hunger rises in the woods, the copper burn of beard grass from the snow, how the sheath of ice on plum blossoms holds safety, the wooden bowl of blood oranges stain our fingers and tongues with hope. Outside, the forsythia, with all its might, blooms its yellow fury at the dark smoke of a tobacco sky. Even the turn of winter, its slow fade holds us as we turn towards warmth. And then I'm going to read Hummingbird Water, a lot of these spring poems as we're going into winter. But anyway, I'm going to read Hummingbird Water next. Hummingbird Water. Spring is carried by the return of nesting birds, both big and small. And what is a hummingbird? But air mixed with nirvana, lit by a spark, a spit of fire. To know spring is to know forgiveness and the return of things gone, like the spring carnival that comes too soon, the air too cool, the steel gate entrance to a ride, its cold steel trapdoor slams shut, then springs open to things that flutter and green. There, the spinning of color and warm light, the smell of spun sugar, electric, alive. Marvel at its warm cotton candy wonder, a slice of clown hair served on a cardboard stick. It melts the words on my tongue. I want to melt it with rain, make hummingbird water. I long for spring. I need to say it out loud. Walk with the words in my pocket, sprinkle them where things don't grow, feed them to hungry geese and swans, and offer them to crows and sparrows. Sugar up all the bees, awaken the bumblebee queen, awaiting alone in her winter cave. An elixir, a love potion to welcome hummingbirds, the air still cold, it begins to sprinkle. If only I could melt, live as nectar, become hummingbird water, all the while spinning like sugar on the spring carnival tilt-a-whirl. Thank you. And then I'm going to read for you a poem that my friend Anne is very familiar with because, well, we went to school together as young girls, and we're still friends. And anyway, one day she and her husband had met my husband and I for Valentine's Day breakfast at Drifters in Escanaba, and her sister was there also. And I don't go to Vinnie's often, but occasionally I go to St. Vinnie's, and I love to find nostalgic old things. And Anne had said to me, I found a treasure. I found the dishes I've been looking for forever. I found extra pieces to my mother's set of dishes. And she had no idea that my grandmother had a set of dishes, and I had been looking for them also. And I had found some maybe a month before. Anne, she said, well, come out to the car and see my dishes. I went out to the car to see her dishes, and then I had to show her on my phone the picture I took of the same dishes. We both had the same set of dishes, which, I mean, what are the chances? And so it was just kind of a neat thing, and I said, well, I have the same dishes as you, and I also have a poem I wrote about the dishes. And so that was just kind of a neat thing. So it's become her favorite poem in the book because of that. And it's called At the St. Vincent de Paul Thrift Store. At the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store, I can feel Easter on my skin as the sun comes in, a plate in my hand at the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store. These dishes are just like the ones my grandmother had. The little blue flowers peek out from the milk-white snow of bone china. These are the dishes of my childhood Easter. Carrots round as pennies, sliced jewels, the color of tangerine and persimmon that shine in saffron butter. Tender roast beef, the kind a knife isn't required, and crispy chicken, creamy mashed potatoes dressed in velvet gravy. Sweet ambrosia, hot dinner rolls, and let's not forget the Easter cake, saved best for last. Jelly beans and Sakeley's fudge eggs, Happy Easter piped in bold yellow frosting. This day holds no rules. Candy is for breakfast. Spring, oh, how my grandmother loved it. How crocus and tulips and daffodils rise from the earth towards heaven, like a green Jesus ascending. Hearing the hymns sung on Easter Sunday in chorus with returning birds, yes, I can feel Easter. I can feel spring even in winter, even at the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store. I can feel it like the anticipation of the cake still in the kitchen. Thank you. And this one I will read, and then I'm going to skip around a little bit, I think. And this one is a tribute to Judith Minty. It's called A Bear's Elegy, Looking for You. And this is how I ended up being part of the Poet Society, because the Poet Circle. Actually, I contacted Janine because I saw that she had a service that they were going to do for her, a memorial, and I wanted to go, and I wanted to hear her reading. And Janine right away said, well, you're a poet. You need to choose one of her poems to read, and then you need to write one, and you need to read and be part of our circle. I mean, how wonderful is she? You know, how could I resist that? And I haven't left since, so... And this is that poem that I wrote for Judith Minty, who was a wonderful UP poet that came back here to spend her summers living off grid in the middle of nowhere just to write. And she wrote endlessly about the bear, and I absolutely love her work. And this is my poem to her. The Bear's Elegy, Looking for You. Wind breathes through trees differently here and whispers on breath. Yellow dog, gray wolf, black bear. When I last saw the bear outside my cabin, I heard the loud clash of cymbals crashing as the bear ran for her life with 2 cubs trailing free. She was only looking for you. The fires I kindle and tend to, the fiery breath the wood stove spits back from the small log sauna house as I bathe with buckets and scoops. In the night air, I watch the steam escape my flesh like secret lives my bones betray as I stand naked beneath your stars. When I last saw the bear, he stood on haunches of back legs and peered into my car with eyes of copper kettles that filled with honeycombs as I tried to leave. He was only looking for you. How cold bites at me, or the heat of a summer night is forgotten on the sound of wolves howling. I can hear them barking at me like territorial dogs from the rocky ledge. As you know, nights are filled with wolves and bears. When I last saw the bear, his massive paw prints haunt me as I often saw them pressed into mud and sacred loam. He was only looking for you. Hidden in minerals mined of the earth, no more precious than breath riding the breeze on blueberry scent that fuels the forest lungs on thick black fur. When I last saw the bear, he was pounding his great paws into rock, moaning, thundering with all his weight, as if to say, do not linger in my discomfort. We said nothing to the bear, my dog and I, he was only looking for you, dancing the darkness at its dreams to its very edge. And still, I do not know how to speak or even whisper in bear voice. I know we have both touched waters that have washed over the same rocks. I have learned the fear belongs to the bear. And when a bear dies, he is just the snow that melts away, folded into riverbanks of waters that wash over our same rocks. When I last saw the bear, he lives on in legends and poems and in your dreams. We were only looking for you. And next, I'm going to read a few poems that are for my kids, especially my daughter. This one is to my kids and my granddaughter, and it's called A Love on Fire. A love on fire. My dear child, I will protect you with all that I am as I carry a fierce fire around me, because it is at the center that I hold you near. You are rooted there, how fire breaks open seeds. It was then that I grew you in my heart. I set you free in the world to your own beautiful fire. Always remember this warmth long after I've gone and turned to ash. No, you are never lost to me, for I will be the sage burning. Just follow the shadow of my smoke. And then this one is for my daughter, which many of you know. My daughter has been very sick pretty much most of her life. She has some autoimmune issues, and then she had COVID, and she just has never really recovered very well. And so this poem is for her, and it talks about when she was very, very sick in the hospital, and we almost lost her. And this is called The Edge of Foxfire, and I'm not sure, hopefully most of you know, foxfire is a kind of mushroom that it's actually pretty magical. It glows green neon in the dark, and it's just kind of one of those wonders of nature. And when she was very sick and she kept getting all the shots, her stomach to me looked like foxfire glowing in the dark because she had so many green suns on her belly from all the shots. So that's what I'm talking about in the poem. So this is called The Edge of Foxfire. A great fire quickened outside our window. A fox rushed near our door and across the land. It didn't stop, only ran past, so fast as not to touch us, not to take a thing, only brushed by. In folklore and some native cultures, it is said the fox can warn of impending death. Others believe they are healers of the sick. Some believe they are gods of the sun and bring blessings of wisdom and joy. When my daughter was small, she feared the fox's eerie screams. Sweet girl, it is only a fox singing a blessing, calling the sunrise. Our daughter has fallen gravely ill, her body racked with pain and illness. Lines and tubes, shots of anticoagulants light her belly like bioluminescent blue-green suns, foxfire in full bloom. Grateful to the fox that ran swiftly that night and didn't stop to touch us or take a thing. Not that night, not now, not yet. Only blazed past, brushed us with a blessing. How many times we dissolve into night. So many deaths before we die. Each rise and fall into darkness. Seeking to evoke the sun again. A calling out, how my great-grandmother had, making medicines from plants and herbs. I want to pronounce them in prayer, these mortal earthly names for the sun. Saffron, yarrow, tansy, poppy, echinacea, marigold, dandelion, feverfew, ginseng, golden seal, chamomile. My prayer, my offering, standing in the glow of foxfire. Still, I want to pretend each time that it's early and no one is leaving, no one has died. I want to believe we are not just ghosts waiting to shed our skin. I want the fox over and over, blessing us at dawn. Thank you. And then this is another one. When she was released from the hospital, I wrote this like riding home. My husband was driving and I wrote this in the car as we were on our way home. And this is called Small Islands. We have lost and won wars of our own. We are broken, but still here. The war has just begun in Ukraine. Helpless, I purchase a quilt, white with stitched doves. Place it over the once bed of my daughter's childhood, a white flag of peace. She lives, though days prior that seemed impossible. This is my surrender. The world, like most things, is bigger than all of us. Still I build an altar each year, all white with birds, sage, and occasional green bough, a serving of peace. It's become clear the need for small islands in times, to visit in times like these. And then I will read the poem, A Fox in Drought Season. Any day of a dry season, sedge and wood are crisp shadows for tinder. In the morning, I can see the smoke across the lake. The Hiawatha forest is burning. Friends evacuate, move their horses to safety. In the distance, the concussive clamor of propane tanks is exploding as they flee. We post Smokey the Bear signs with slogans. Only you can prevent forest fires and forest kill. Who decided a bear wearing bib overalls and a hat equals safety? We do it anyway, as if the words somehow make paper safe from fire. as if paper was a cure for carelessness or flames. In the edge of the forest, a blaze, a fire, a glorious bushy tail, a mask of flames to golden eyes, a chest of snow, a puff of cloud, a spirit. The fox doesn't turn or run. Are her kits hidden nearby? Does she feel the air is ripe for kindling? This stillness, a communion, waiting for the sky to gather and conjure. We must believe in clouds, that they can hold an ocean. It only takes a small crack for prayers to fall like rain. Thank you. And then I'm going to read, so many people love this poem that I'm going to read this one. It's called 7 Reasons to Call Your Mother. Like as if you need one, right? 7 reasons to call your mother. 1, so she can tell me about the scarlet tanager outside her window. 2, to say I love you as she never tires of hearing it. 3, to hear her voice, try to memorize the rise and hum. 4, to ask her for prayers because no one will ever pray for you the way a mother prays for her child. 5, to tell her my daughter survived another night in the ICU. 6, because time runs shorter than we can ever know. 7, the scarlet tanager is now outside my window. Thank you. And I'm going to read for you another poem called Bathing Beauties, and it took place at my brother's house in Appleton, and it was right after my father died. It was the same day that he had passed away, and I was with my mom and my sister, and we were all in our pajamas, and my mom was exhausted, and my sister and I crawled in the same bed with her to kind of snuggle, and my mom started, like she always does, she will only drink coffee, she won't drink water, and she gets Charlie horses, and we keep telling her, you need water. But anyway, this is how this poem came about. It was a very sad time that we just made into a joyous time. So it's called Bathing Beauties. Inside the guest bedroom at my brother's house, my mother lies nestled between my sister and I in her plush pink robe, my sister in blue satin, and me in cotton navy stripes. Mom winces, pointing her toes like a ballerina, as her leg tightens into a Charlie horse. She kicks her leg and stretches. We begin in solidarity, throwing our legs up in unison, higher and higher, our arms carve air, turning our heads in sync as if they were adorned in flowered rubber caps. We are Esther Williams Bathing Beauties. We are synchronized swimming, laughing unexpectedly with our whole bodies, throwing our heads back, trying to catch our breath on foamy linen waves. My father hasn't been gone a day yet. Already, he has traveled so far in the moment. We expect grief to shatter us, to break us open, but no one tells you about the fluidity of joy, how it sneaks in, seeps into every crack and fissure like a salve, soaks you to your core, poured from some unknown vessel of mercy. No one warns you there will be joy. And in that fresh, jubilant, flowing glee, I want to whisper to my father, we haven't forgotten you. We've only gone for a swim. Thank you. And then, let me see here. I am going to read one that I wrote for my granddaughter. And when she was very small, we used to do this thing. Well, she would not go to sleep. We'd do prayers, and she would not go to sleep unless we could sing to the moon. It was kind of our thing. And so we had to try and see if we could find the moon out the window, and then we would make up a song every time and sing to the moon. And she loved that. And then in the morning, she always wanted to sing to the moon again. And we always talked about how the moon was different, smaller, bigger, that kind of thing. And I actually even videoed her singing some of her little moon songs, and we sang together. Anyway, this is the poem I wrote for her called Our Moon Song. Granddaughter, do you remember how we sang to the moon, that it was made of butter, a melt of time, a turn of tide to fiery red days, round ripe pearls, this generational torch, a legacy passed on when my grandmother carried me inside my mother, how my mother carried my daughter inside of me, each our own maiden's purse, a lute of tiny pearls, of many moons. This ends where it began, in sacred red earth, where all our moons fall. I carried my son's daughter too. Yes, you, granddaughter, not with my womb, but my heart. And I don't know if you guys are, thank you. I don't know if you guys are aware of that new thing that because they're saying that a female baby has all of her eggs before birth. And so the possibility of all of her children is actually carried by her mother. So that's actually pretty cool. And let me see here. And then I'm going to read, let me see, how are we doing for time, Marty? 7:03. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, and I'm going to also read for you another moon song. And this is one that the moon does something every once in a while, and I get such a kick out of it. It looks like an egg, and I can look out the window at 3 a.m, and it's on the lake, which is very unusual. Usually it's up and gone. And so anyway, this was one of those nights, and I wrote about the moon. It's called Bitten by the Moon. Fierce fallen moon, a fire opal, at 2 a.m, nests the horizon, lingers, catches fire, a deep orange embered flare, an egg-shaped sail anchored on the bay, the water all aglow with the moon's admiration of the sun. The lake holds the moon in its palm as it flickers, a mirror to the sun, dreams itself into a hatchling, a phoenix on rise, as Lake Michigan gentles, tender where the fire's teeth have touched. Thank you. And thank you. And here is another poem that is about constellations and the night sky and the stars. Remnants of constellations. I want to sit on the mountain in the dark of night, all alone with the stars and the memory of ancestors shining down, and the wonder of those yet born, in the smoke, fire, and dust that built us, in the gears of the galaxy's own time machine, to be that close to what lights us all. Thank you. And then I am going to read, let me see here. I'm going to read this one, and then I'll skip back. This one is called Tomato Sandwiches, and I wrote this one for my husband, and this actually was something that happened one day when we were at the cabin. He never used to like tomatoes, but he loves them now. It's called Tomato Sandwiches. How to make my husband love the anatomy of a tomato. He has no love for tomatoes. And still, I pack them into the cooler with potato rolls, bakery fresh that morning. These are no ordinary tomatoes. These are Cherokee purple heirloom tomatoes, round as my bosom, a blossom, color the ruby of my nipple. It is only the two of us, a private spot on the beach. We soak our bones drenched in sun. I hand him another cold beer. Mouth of a long neck wets our lips. He asks if there's anything to eat in the cooler. I offer to make a sandwich. I begin with the meat from the heart of an animal called summer. I hold the plump purple-red vessel, butcher the ripe organ of the sun. Slice thin as paper, stack and layer the sweet flesh into the well of the bun. I hand feed him this new awakening, this new love, this small yet undiscovered delicacy. And he now eats tomatoes almost every day. I'll read for you the cover poem, which this book is named for. And it's called Mercy is a Bright Darkness. And it talks about how the season, the earth, is very merciful, regardless of, the seasons. Winter can be so harsh, but there's always something to redeem it. So this is the poem, Mercy is a Bright Darkness. As days grow shorter and the hours of light become few, the trees on their way to sleep leave a light on before dropping their leaves. They become torches and lanterns, blazes of infernos, flaming bright pyres. Once they have gone, the brilliance of snow, a shimmering brightness, as if the moon has fallen at our feet. See how the earth does that, saves a little light to get us through, a nightlight for our dreams, so we may learn to love the darkness, as we all must do. This taming of the dark, where roots and seeds live, and the magic of growth and becoming, of empathy and forgiveness, these tender acts of nature, reminding us that light is everywhere, even in darkness. Thank you. And then next I'm going to read Duck Season, and this is because I am the kind of person that loves the sunrise. And living on Lake Michigan, I go outside almost every day and take a photograph of it. Or sometimes I just sit out there, even in the snow, and watch it. And it's amazing. One day I actually walked out and a raccoon was sitting next to me and didn't do anything. It was just watching the beautiful sunrise. It was turned right towards it as I was. And I was like, wow, even they love it. So is it any wonder I have to go out and look at it? And this poem is called Duck Season. The field is full of wild geese resting, and I want to ask them if they know the snow is coming tonight. I see the ducks hiding in the tall reeds. They know it is more than snow that waits. Come morning, I will watch the sunrise, pause and listen to the song of geese and wild ducks winging. And then the shatter of peace, the sound of gunfire along the shore. I will close my eyes to watch them as they make their escape into the warmth of the apricot autumn sky. Thank you. Okay, I think I'll read this one next. It's called A Place to Store Everything. A place to store everything, too big to contain. Where does one find such a containment? And would we even want to, when we are trying to hold the enormity of the world? To own such a space, a container, I would say is often the heart, a living memory box. In search of a more tangible space, I resort to a small handmade vessel, a mending of earth gifts. This space, though small, often holds full gardens, the future, the memory of orchards and forests, a host to hope, to life. This space, humble yet sacred, so filled with the magical renderings of possibilities. This is the place to hold gathered seeds. Thank you. Let's see what I want to read next. I think I'm going to read this one because I'm guessing most people have pets, and we've had dogs and we've had cats, and we have 2 cats right now. I wrote this after one of our cats passed away, and a strange thing happened. When he passed away, the day we went to pick up his ashes, I didn't want to just go home. We got to the house, and I had my husband take the ashes in, and I went for a walk. And I walked by this open field that he often walked with me. And I decided to take, I don't know why I did it, but I decided to take a picture of my shadow person. And when I took the shadow, my shadow was there, and the shadow of my cat was there. And I have that photo, and it's like amazing. And there was nothing that could have made the shadow, so it was pretty neat. So this is the poem I wrote for that cat. 9 lives. A cat is an extension of the wild. They bring it to us bits at a time, a tempering of power, one of danger and surrender. Our cat came to me when I called him in, climbing from the lushness of the garden, the cool undercurrent of growth, pressed the remains of dusk and midnight against my bare leg and ankle, slugs hitching a ride on the small camel of his body, the soft pony of his fur. I pull them off, the tiny wet sea lions, their antenna a wonderment from the wilds of Earth's darkened underbelly. He watches with green grape eyes as the tiny creature slides, slick as a palm reader, glides across my open palm, creating shiny new lifelines, stretching out in pristine, clear slime. At times, that cat smelled of sunshine, of sod and herbs, all catmint and lavender, as he smashed against our hands and face. We tried to breathe in his bumbling rumble. Other times, it was all mystery and wonder, unfolding in this borrowing of time, holding on for the ride as many times as we could, as if we had 9 lives, as if we could make summer and time last forever. All our days are numbered, yet he comes to me still, walking the fields of snow, with only his shadow left nestling near. Thank you. And next I'm going to read you 2 pandemic poems. And this is post-pandemic, and this one is the first Christmas parade since pandemic. The first Christmas parade since pandemic. At the end of the parade, the sugared street, the dung-laced wake of draft horses, monumental and black, fog pouring from the furnace of their nostrils and bit-stopped mouths, hallelujahs and hosannas still hung, strung across the night air on a flatbed of floating magi. Before them, fire engines and police fleets throw buckets of candy, hitting the streets like heavy precipitation. Giddy children gather the festivities' harvest. Gingerbread houses, Christmas trees, dogs in costumes, the Grinch and Santa dancing. Among us, tiny and newborn pandemic babies are everywhere, the precious, wrapped and swaddled. These babies, on this season of hope, light the dark and the crowd. And then next I'm going to read Hunger During Pandemic. Loading the dishwasher, I realize I'm hungry. Hungry for the overflowing of my granddaughter's favorite tumbler, for the too many glasses and mounds of coffee cups with all their mismatched colors and logos from places that seem lifetimes away, a Jackson Pollock painting suspended on the top rack. The silverware herded like dirty cattle into their stalls, corralled with slotted spoons and spatulas. The stacks of plates from my son's visit, the greasy bowls from his favorite chili, the smell of fresh bread still in the air, the cream clinging to the pan from my daughter's favorite dish, the beer mugs and stemware, the dessert plates from my niece's overnight stays. The mornings full of guest dishes, all with the hustle and bustle, rinse and clink, among voices, conversation and laughter, children and pets underfoot, stepping over toys as I feed the dishwasher, stuff it full of memories and messiness. And this chaos is what I crave, what I so hunger for, as I place my lone coffee cup next to my husband's empty plate. And the cat tries to climb inside the ravenous cavern because even the dishwasher is lonely. Thank you. And then I'm going to read for you, I'll read the lunch date. The lunch date. Something so simple as you at a desk peeling an orange, the share of your hand to mine to lips, sat with nothing more than the dander and husk of your orange peel after you left. Thoughts of your fingers unearthing the segmented fruit, taking in now how I smell so sweetly of citrus. And then this one is called The Totem. The Totem. A spirit older than the land came to me in a dream as a beautiful deer, the largest I've ever seen. The great doe walked toward me, towering tall. She reared up, walking only on hind legs. Her hooves morphed, and she took my hands, held them with all the gentleness of a mother's hand. Then she spoke, saying, "Never stop kissing the earth and loving the land, sky, and water, for the spirit is older even than this world." She invited me to touch near her heart. There, I felt a wound that matched my own. "Ask yourself," she said, "what wounds are greatest in your heart? For we are mending a world through mending ourselves." Thank you. And then I'm going to read Opera for the Moon. Opera for the Moon. In the depth of nightfall, darkness narrows the distance of sound, where owl voices arrive to speak in rhythmic, wooded tongues. The loons are here too. They fill the room with warbled ballads, hymns, and psalms, though I will never find their dark bodies. The fox and wolves will join the opera, with peeper harmony and bullfrogs on tenor and bass. The silk moth thrashes its great body against the shuttered window to applaud, while the luna moth sings in pheromones from the branches. The fireflies, those ambitious little specks of fallen stars, lend their light. Oh, how I envy the bats in silent velvet flight as they navigate a dark sea. It is all a language that has so much to say to someone or something, as the moon speaks to everything in pulls of light. I know it is all a door to a darkness I can only hope to enter. Thank you. And let me see here. I'm going to read a couple more for you. Let me see. I think I'll read, let me see if I can, I think I'll read this one. A Youper takes shelter at camp. A Youper takes shelter at camp. The sticky fingers of the forest pat my head, comb my hair as I pass under pine branches, a makeshift path through a mix of winter and spring where there is no driving in close. I become pack mule, a pachyderm carrying cargo, a gypsy with sacks of food, gallons of water, bottles of magic, and cans of craft beer. My love busy building a fire, priming the water pump, chopping ice blocking the outhouse door. The outdoor shower, a heave of ice and leaves. I empty my boots, free the gems of winter that catch as my feet sink, snow to hip. My afternoon perch, a stepladder on the covered porch, washing large windows, eyes to the lake still thick with ice. The neighbor's dog runs over for a visit, suckles and mouths my dangling bare foot like a calf at an udder. She's an old friend, cries and whines, not understanding this new world and why we hadn't stopped by. I find forgiveness in her generous brown eyes with my offering of chicken scraps. At dusk, one lone crane flies by, feathers in close, more shadow than bird. We watch the fire from the glass door of the wood stove, flaming orange and quick as a litter of fox kits. The radio turned to 103.3, Elmer Aho, bringing us comfort with old country and folk music. His soft, Fozzie Bear voice, a Saturday evening Youper companion. One last peek at an endless starry sky. We nuzzle in bed, the dark so large, so peaceful, it eats the world. We came here to be small, to disappear. We drift off, belonging now to the ever-widening quiet, waiting for the gift of morning. Thank you. My neighbor is chuckling over there because it's her dog that always runs over. We adore her. She is the best dog. Okay, I just want to read for you my grandfather. Just 1 second. Sorry about this. Oh, there it is on 37. That's what I get for skipping around so much. And this poem is written for my grandfather, and it's called My Grandfather Was an El Camino. My grandfather was an El Camino. He was child labor in a work camp. He was the orange he stole to save his dying sister. My grandfather was tobacco. He was beer and whiskey. He was baked beans and ice cream. My grandfather was puppies and dogs and loyalty. He was sawdust and pockets of money. He was wide grins and all-star wrestling. My grandfather was a black velvet painting of the Last Supper. He was rows of church pews he built after his church burned. My grandfather was all the letters of the alphabet when my grandmother taught him to read and write. He was heart attacks and diabetes. He was bread and butter, red meat and venison stew. He was the box of Cracker Jacks with the prize. He was nicknames and French slang. My grandfather was Christmas trees sold in the city. He was stick-built homes in our town. He was rooftops and banks, kitchens and cabinets. He was carved wooden dolls dancing. He was a boy without a childhood. My grandfather was a father to daughters and a son born sleeping. He was fresh water for horses and dry blankets when they were cold and wet. My grandfather was a plane and a bird flying over. He was the garlands and Christmas lights strung across Ludington Street. He was all golden with a pinstripe. He was the path and the line running through our veins and lives. My grandfather was an El Camino. And I'm not sure if we should stop and start signing or if I should read another poem or two. What do you think? Should we just read? Yeah, I'm going to take a drink of water because my mouth is getting pretty dry. So, and I'll read a couple more poems for you. It's amazing. Always amazes me how much reading dries your mouth out. Reading out loud, that is. Okay. Let me see. If I haven't read yet. I'm going to read for you A Moose Calf at Midnight. A moose calf at midnight. And we have this spot where the moose have been, and this happened a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Anyway, it's called A Moose Calf at Midnight. We awaken to the young cries of an animal. My husband whispers, something is lost. I whisper back, or lost someone. We peer out from the cabin at the vast blackness. We know this cry. It is a moose calf. Year's first bloom, the wiry copper whirl, a sapling in the thick marshlands. The woods dense of balsam, birch, and maple. O little one, how new the dark of your world. Your mother, brown mountain, woolly coat of bronzed brawn. Where has she gone? I am an old mother. Something primal ingrained in my marrow's field aches. Your lonely calls like a needle stabbing the night. Powerless, we are threaded to its stitch of nothing. We wait for peace. A small fire warms us. My head rests the flannel of his shoulder. We are together in this aloneness. When silence comes, the dark ladles over our vigilance. We are lost now, where sleep might find us, where the sun greets you safe with your mother and morning's green song. And then I'll read The Feeding of Dragonflies. The water calls in glossy glisten, buoyant, soft fullness, saying, enter, wash the salty heat burden from morning's chore-ridden body. The intention was there, to be productive even in play, to drag the thirsty kayak out, paddle to unimagined secret coves, dive in, swim like a fish, become a loon, drop like a stone, effortless, dissolve fluid only to reappear weightless on the other end of the lake. Instead, I choose an air-filled cloud, a cheap vinyl float, loudly tropical in color. I hadn't entertained the notion of biting flies or mosquitoes. The only thought was to cool the body. Dragonflies land on my bare skin, on a tender, cloth-covered belly. These guardians, the only armor needed. No better than a tub of night crawlers, a bucket of minnows, a shiny lure all human-scented. I've become the bait of choice for dragonflies. This great smallness, so expansive in its lesson of stillness, patience, and presence here among the dragonflies. Thank you. And let me see here. I will read one last one. It's called Inside the Seed Box. What becomes of gathered treasure, of galvanized hope? What rattles the seed of a fallen tree? The raspy voice whispers its promise from inside a round box made of bark. Its own kindred vessel, the lid laced and stitched in white bone of porcupine quills, gently hemmed in the fragrance of sweetgrass. To lift the lid, we must first believe in the gather and share of seeds. To be open to possibilities beyond ourselves. Imagine the spirit of great and ancient trees tumbling out, for it is something of great reverence to plant a tree. And I think that we're about out of time. So thank you everyone so much. Thank you. I appreciate you all so much. I mean, so much that you came out for me. Yes.
When did you start writing poems?
Oh my goodness, I've written poems since I was a teenager. So didn't really do anything with it until I was older, but I've always written even in secret. So it's just kind of always been something that I've done.
Have you resurrected any of the stuff that you wrote earlier?
Not really. I have a lot of old stuff that I wrote years ago, yeah, but I haven't really done anything with that. So, yeah. Well, I write every day pretty much, so I have thousands of poems actually, because that's pretty much my practice. I'm up pretty early and I usually write every single morning. Sometimes at night too, but usually in the morning. So.
Have you always had a rural abode?
Where that I write more about the area? I would say yes. I think when I was younger, I wrote very differently than what I do now. Now I found that I like writing about what I know, what's familiar to me, what I know in my heart. And so I guess the area is close to my heart, you know.
So I'm asking though, have you always lived in a rural abode?
Oh, I thought you said have I always written about, have I always lived in a, pretty much yes. Pretty much yes. I mean, I have spent much of my summers for years being off grid, and I love doing that. I love that, so.
Yes, and your parents and grandparents, were they drawn to
I think
the
they,
wonder of nature?
oh, definitely, very, very definitely. And my, some of my grandparents came from Canada, so, and they didn't even speak English, so, yeah, very different.
Yes. Did you learn the foreign, or not foreign, but the
Some of it, my father's mother's family, I don't know the full origin of their family. but my mother's father was also French speaking, so both of them had French speaking parents. They came from homes where they spoke both languages. So my grandfather used to, when I was very young, he used to try and teach me. That was one of his things. So yeah, I did pick up a little bit from him, and then he passed away. But he always had French nicknames for me, and it was always a lot of fun.
And French names
For things, oh yes. Oh gosh, yes. Yes, he very much wanted me to learn the language, but then he passed away. So, that was a shame. I mean, that was a fun thing to learn little bits and pieces from him. I was very close to him. I spent a lot of time with him. So, oh, that's okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you again, everyone, for being here. Aw. Well, thank you all.
I'm sure that Lisa can talk to you at the back table where she's signing books.
Yep,
So
because we've
lots
got to
of
get out
yeah,
here before the thing closes.
Yes, lots of books back there to sell, but thank you, Lisa.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.